The Federal Reserve cuts interest rates for the first time in 9 months and signals 2 more cuts could come this year. Jerome Powell defending the decision in the face of a weakening labor market and pressure from the White House.
I think we were right to wait and see how tariffs and inflation and the labor market evolved. I think we're now reacting to the much lower level of job creation and other evidence of softening in the labor market and saying, well, those risks are maybe not fully balanced, but moving in the direction of balance now. And so that warrants a change in policy.
New Fed Governor Stephen Miron was the only dissenting vote favoring a half-point rate cut. All right, Liz, what do you think about this? You saw the market reaction. You saw the press conference yesterday. Too little, too late, just in time. Premature because inflation's still a problem.
I think they could have started cutting rates earlier, but look, they did it. It was pretty inevitable. It was going to be a quarter point because after all, you had very good retail sales numbers come out the day before. So if indeed it's data driven, which we kind of keep hoping it is instead of politically driven, it was the right decision to make. I think what's discouraging to me is that Jay Powell just is not on board at all with the Donald Trump economic agenda. He doesn't believe that deregulation and tax cuts and all the things that are happening with tariffs and investment flowing in is going to goose this economy. He just doesn't believe in it. And in fact, if you look at the dot plot, neither does the rest of the federal, the governing board. Yeah. So they're looking at growth of 1.6, 1.8%. In the second quarter, it was over 3%. The Atlanta Fed says it's going to be over 3% this quarter, and we're pretty close to the end of this quarter. Actually, we're not. Yeah, we are. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think he isn't on board with the whole premise of supply-side economics and what the Trump agenda is all about. So, look, that's fine. He'll be out of a job in May. I don't think it'll happen sooner. I think they will have more cuts this year, and that's good for the economy. Really good for real estate. My gosh, home buyers can't afford to buy a home, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, they're very negative on the outlook as
they
a
really
whole.
Are.
The Fed, in their overall projection. Jackie, I thought this was going to be the meeting of drama, okay? Lots of dissensions, split decisions. They were almost unanimous, with the exception of Stephen Miron. Everybody was on board with the quarter-point cut. Did that surprise you that everybody got in line, essentially, behind Jerome Powell on this one, with the exception of Stephen Miron?
No, it was actually exactly what I expected. And him standing there and saying we were right to wait is also exactly what I expected. And I think the market expected it too. The good news is, with all the sort of headwinds in Trump's face, he's still forging ahead and things are going well with respect to his economic agenda. The stock market is crushing it because of the anticipated growth that is coming as a result of the collective action of the policies when they do come together. I think that 25 basis points here, 25 basis points, and 2 more 25 basis point cuts before the end of the year are coming. And so the market thinks that, it's well on its way. I think the market is pretty measured also and says, listen, if inflation rears its ugly head again, then, you haven't moved too far too fast. And so at the end of the day, I think this was a good decision by Powell to do it now. It was time. You couldn't wait any longer. I know it's not what the president wanted, but I never thought that he expected 300 basis point cut today. He could have been more aggressive. He could have given the market 50. He could always take it back later if he was wrong, but he doesn't like to admit that he was wrong. Hence we were right to wait.
There you go. Lydia, you always dig into the details on these reports, so I'm sure you've got some nugget for us to help us better understand what the Fed did, why they did it, and what it means.
Well, one thing that stood out to me yesterday during the press conference is when our good colleague Edward Lawrence asked Jerome Powell about the quality of the data that we're getting. He asked Jerome Powell to basically acknowledge the revisions that we got earlier this year, showing that roughly 900,000 jobs fewer added to the economy than we thought. And Powell just didn't want to talk about that. Powell didn't want to acknowledge or engage in a conversation about the quality of the data. I think Powell said, actually, we are forward-looking. We prefer to look through the windshield where we are going ahead rather than backward-looking. But I thought, Isn't that exactly what the problem is with the data? The data is always backward looking, and that's the data that you're using to make decisions on where we are going. So the question was really, shouldn't you have been making cuts, or would you have been making cuts had you known that we had weakness in the labor market sooner? And Powell just wouldn't even answer the question.
Well, he didn't want to go there because if he admits that the quality of the data is not good, then that would indicate that he should have been cutting sooner.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing to me. So to stand up there and dodge the question in that way, to your point, Lydia, it's so frustrating.
Well, and particularly because June of last year, Powell actually said the jobs number were a bit overstated. He knew there was a problem with the data when they came in with the May number of 272,000 jobs. He knew that was wrong. So why didn't he force a reckoning on that? That's I think, my biggest complaint about Powell right now.
He's trying to avoid a lot of topics.
Yeah,
he's got to avoid the
so.
Lisa Cook topic. Everybody wants to talk about that. He's got to avoid the data topic. Everybody wants to talk about that. So you feel like in these press conferences, he's just sort of tiptoeing around the stuff that matters. And you're like, yeah, but get to what matters here. And he never gets there. Katrina, another thing that matters, and I know this is your neck of the woods, housing, right? So, okay, so do we have like the 10-year and the 30-year? Can we bring those up? Because I wanted to kind of see what happened with the 10-year and the 30-year after this. And earlier in the day when I last checked, yields were up actually. Maybe they still are today. We'll see in a second. But that's a concern here. So the Fed cut, it's up.
Marginal.
Very marginally, but up yesterday. It sort of dropped yesterday after the announcement, and then it kind of went up. And I bring that up because that's kind of where your mortgage rates are coming from. Okay,
absolutely.
So America's saying bring rates down so mortgage rates come down so we can unlock the housing market. I don't know. We're getting mixed signals right now. What do you think, Katrina?
You know, what's interesting is I think the market already expected this. So I spoke to so many friends of mine that, are mortgage brokers, and they said, we actually got better rates the last 2 weeks than we did yesterday. One of them told me that they locked in 5.875 on a jumbo loan and that he wouldn't be able to do that today. And so you saw it go up, ironically, after the press conference. Whereas, people already expected this. However, I don't think that this is enough to help the housing market, and we desperately need more help. We need more rate cuts, but we also need more supply in certain markets like the Northeast and the Midwest. And we need Trump to come in, and I do believe that if he declares a national housing emergency, although the state and local governments are the ones handling regulations and zoning, he can definitely influence them and motivate them with tax incentives and just lead the charge with regard to zoning. I think that can happen. We're beginning to see, builders become a little bit more bullish, although not enough. And I do think that a lot of buyers are still going to be on the sidelines because they're expecting more rate cuts. What I'm experiencing in the market, and I just had a conversation with a bunch of realtors in the Florida market, is that they're only getting like 1 or 2 showings every 6 months. Whoa. So you have so much supply and you don't have those buyers out there. And why? And then also, I believe that a lot of sellers, have pulled. I just did a report with Ash Webster in Florida about so many sellers pulling their homes off the market in Florida. And it's because a lot of people in the Florida market also believe Florida will always be Florida. And if Mondani gets elected, they're going to see another wave, come to Florida. And so they're deciding, hey, let me just take my home off the market and I'll put it back on the market.
I hear a lot of let me wait in Florida right now.
That's what's happening. And so that's why you're seeing, like in July, you just saw the number of homes on the market come down drastically because Floridians are saying, okay, fine, I understand that I can't get COVID-type numbers, but I'll wait so that I can get better numbers because I'm not going to just give my home away. I think another aspect is definitely going to be property taxes and capital gains taxes, which I hope there's some kind of reform. The capital gains taxes, the $250,000 and $500,000 exclusion hasn't been adjusted since 1997, and home values have increased drastically, as we all know, since then. So I think something's got to give with that. A lot of people in the retired community are not downgrading because it's more expensive to do so. So I think we need rates to continue to come down. And I got a lot of messages yesterday from friends of mine I went to high school with saying, when are my kids going to be able to afford a home? Because they're all living with them. So
it's on everybody's mind. And the question is, what's going to kind of unlock things on the seller side where their expectations come down maybe, or on the buyer side where they say, I'm not going to wait around forever for lower rates. I've got what I need right now. Let's do that. And you don't know when it happens until it happens. So we shall see.